Welcome back to the Big Movie Mouth Off. I'm Jimmy Martin with Slug Magazine.
And I'm Jeff Weiss with MSN Entertainment.
Now we're going to take it a little bit more serious of tone, a little bit less fighty than Immortals. J. Edgar, which is Clint Eastwood's new biopic about J. Edgar Hoover, played by Leonardo DiCaprio. Basically, J. Edgar Hoover was the head of the FBI for decades and decades. But while he had this public image of, basically, we mentioned Superman, Truth, Justice, and the American Way.
Right.
What J. Edgar had that a lot of people didn't know until after his death was a very private life.
Right.
And very, it was private amongst him, and no one knew, and he was gay.
Yeah.
And
possibly a crossdresser.
And a crossdresser too. But the thing about this is that it explores his relationship with his partner, played by Armie Hammer. And this is what I loved about this film, is because J. Edgar Hoover was, most people see him as kind of a dick, But like he had this like soft side to him, and that like, it was, you watch his mom.
Emotions.
Well, repressed emotions, but you watch his mom, the way he treated him, and you feel bad for this person.
Played by Judi Dench.
Brilliantly by Judi Dench. And you begin to like see that this guy is human. He's not the hard ass, he's got to be in front of the camera and show those criminals who's boss and doesn't take crap from anyone. But he's human.
Edgar, you will rise to be the most powerful man in the country.
It is my belief that when a man becomes a part of this bureau, he must so conduct himself as to eliminate even the slightest possibility of criticism as to his conduct.
Mr. Tolson, I need someone who I can trust. I want you to be my number 2 man. You understand? I need you. Imagine if every citizen in this country were uniquely identifiable by the pattern on their fingers. Imagine how quickly we could find them if they committed a crime. Do you remember that file we created on his wife?
Mrs. Roosevelt.
Will you make a copy for me, please?
Is that legal?
Sometimes you need to bend the rules a little in order to keep your country safe.
And Leonardo DiCaprio does a brilliant job at bringing out that side of him.
But by the way, we should mention that the script was written by Dustin Lance Black, the Oscar-winning writer of Milk, who definitely does not flinch away from the seamier aspects of J. Edgar's life. Jimmy, this was one of those films where I walked out of the theater liking it or thinking I liked it. I liked it less the more I thought about it. I really appreciated Leonardo DiCaprio disappearing into the role and Judi Dench, but only one aspect of the film actually interested me, and it was not the repressed side. It was the depiction of the kidnapping of the Lindbergh baby, a case that really haunted J. Edgar until it came to a conclusion of sorts. And I think that part of the film should have been maybe the focus of a better, tighter film with less, I hate to say it, laughable elements, because the more I thought about the relationship between J. Edgar and his aide-de-camp, again played by Armie Hammer, the less I was convinced, and a lot of it has to do with Armie Hammer's performance and some very unconvincing old age makeup.
Well, okay, yeah, you mentioned the makeup. I want to get past the makeup real fast.
Armie Hammer's old age makeup is some of the worst I have ever seen in a film.
It's weird because, Leonardo DiCaprio's makeup is amazing. He is transformed into J. Edgar Hoover in his 60s and 70s.
Right.
Armie Hammer looks like Spike Jonze on the Jackass movies who's trying to steal orange juice out of a convenience store.
Or a crash test dummy. To me, he looked like a crash test dummy.
It's really odd. It's really odd.
And there's a moment, actually, involving Armie Hammer's character in old age in really unconvincing makeup that I think is laughably bad in the film.
But I disagree with you on where the focus of the movie should have lied. Because with the story of the Lindbergh baby, that was so public and everybody knows about it, and if you read your history,
but do they? It's been forgotten, and
they do and they don't.
And I was so much more sucked into that than I was this repressed homosexual relationship, which frankly Dustin Lance Black explored so much better in Milk.
I will say, I think it was explored more deeply in Milk, but with this one though, it's such a public figure that it's the side of his life that no one knew about. I'd say, after his death, yes. But
let me say this too: a lot of this is also alluded to, and a lot of this isn't definitely known because J. Edgar was such a secretive person, had his secret files, that still not everything is known. So it felt to me like the film was almost pussyfooting and alluding to the relationship rather than coming out as brazenly as it could have. And I understand, yes, that if there were a full depiction of a homosexual relationship in a film this big, it would probably turn off audiences. But I think they really undercut the film in doing it in such a wishy-washy way.
See, I really liked the relationship between Armie Hammer and Leonardo DiCaprio. I thought it was authentic. I thought it was believable. And to me, that's where I kind of fell into it. It was this relationship that they're both well-known public figures at the time,
right,
who had to keep their lives such a secret, and because it's in a time where they would have just been destroyed publicly if they had let this out, and that's to me a much more engaging story, that they have to essentially have to tell after his death, because again, I mean, the guy was a businessman to the bitter end,
right,
and to have him bottle this up, I mean, and here's the thing, people hear this movie and they go, oh, I hope I see him in a dress. And yes, it happens. Yeah. But to me, that scene is so tragic. And the torture.
That is one of the subtler moments in the film.
The torture that Judi Dench puts on him. Judi Dench is going to get nominated for Best Supporting Actress. I would be shocked if she didn't.
She should, although she has another performance coming up in the year.
I know, that I could see her getting nominated twice. She's coming again. But that role and her with Leonardo DiCaprio, I mean, to me, the acting just melted together. This is coming from Clint Eastwood, who just got off of Hereafter, which was, to me, a disaster, besides the tsunami in the beginning. But this is the Clint Eastwood that I have come to know and respect, and I loved it. I'm giving it 3.5 stars.
And see, like I said, I liked it less the more I thought about it. Engaged by Judi Dench and impressed by Leo disappearing into the role. For the Lindbergh baby kidnapping and that, I give it 2 stars. A very disappointed 2 stars from me. When we come back from the break, we'll see if another cross-dressing in a, more intentional comedy, Jack and Jill from Adam Sandler, amuses us.